Okay, the shave we have for you today is one with the Gillette New. This one was made in the date range of 1932 to about 1941. And I have another video with a similar razor. This is the long comb version. If you compare, if you can remember, these teeth just extend a little bit further down than its short comb counterpart. And different people have different reactions to it. So we'll see what mine is. Really enjoy it. This is my first time with it, but I really enjoyed the shaving with the short comb. It was a little on the aggressive side for my skin, but it did give me a nice shave, and I always enjoy shaving with a piece of history. I'll also be using my lather bowl created by me. Whacked a little steel bowl that I got from the Dollar Tree until I had nice dimples and divots and bumps in it. The soap of this evening is D.R. Harris Sandalwood. It came in this beach bowl, and the refill pucks are actually rather inexpensive. And so I tried out their mahogany before. Really enjoyed the scent and the performance. I'm a big fan of sandalwood, but unfortunately, so many of the vendors like to take their sandalwood, titled soap and make the sandalwood be a background player to florals and just kind of ivory soap type scents. And I just don't like that at all. I like the real sandalwood, like a more true sandalwood that's less interfered by florals, like Perazzo Red. And Lather and Wood makes a really good one. There's somebody else too, but it doesn't come to mind. So I was a little disappointed when I opened this up and smelled the puck, because I didn't get a big sandalwood scent very much from this. So, but as we all know, the puck smells different than the lather bowl. So we'll just see. We'll give it a chance. Other hardware includes my Semogue 830 boar hair brush. As I recall, the D.R. Harris, please forgive me if I call it Dr. Harris, because it just kind of looks that way on the packaging, and that's what I called it the first video I made. But it's D.R. Harris. As I recall, that other soap was really thirsty, and so maybe I'll start off with a little bit more water in my brush than I usually do. Alum block on hand if things get cut. And I'll get my witch hazel out. I like it in a spray bottle, easy to apply, easy to spread, less touching on the face after perhaps a sensitive shave. All right, I think we're good. Let us go ahead. I'm going to pour out the water that's in the bowl, for the most part, into my lather bowl. I'm going to shake out a little bit, not dripping anymore, out of the brush. And I'm going to lather this kind of over the bowl, over the lather bowl. I'm going to load the brush. Okay, let's load that over the sink until I get the kind of the excess drips out here. Okay, there we go. Now it's behaving a little more civilly. I have this brush is probably on its 15th use, and you may or may not know that Boar brushes do require a break-in period, they can be annoying. Some people will, I'm just kind of scraping off some of the excess and putting it in my lather bowl instead of just letting it fly who knows where. But I think I recall the first time I used DR Harris, I just didn't lather for long, and I didn't load this is called loading the brush. I didn't load it for long enough. So I ended up running out. Maybe if I can remember next time, I might try a more, see it's very light and bubbly right there. Next time I might try really drying and shaking out the brush, because even though it might be a thirsty soap, it doesn't mean you necessarily have to start out with the water there right away. Okay, it's a little better now. Like for instance, I can't stand, I had to send it back, Taylor of Old Bond Street Sandalwood. Just too florally, just wasn't me. A lot of people love it, it's very popular, but it's not me. And so I've been wary of sandalwoods. I try to read reviews, try to look and see what people say about what role the actual sandalwood plays in the scent. To try to know, then that'll usually give me a key whether I like it or not. It does have some other fragrances in there, maybe a little bit more soapy than I would like, but we'll just keep going with it and see. I'm sure it'll perform well. I have good faith in that. Yeah, so this brush may be on its 15th use, and some people say it takes 1 or 2 months to actually get it to splay out. It's not really splaying out too much right now. And then to get the ends to split, and split ends in this case is a good thing, because it turns the brush from rather scratchy and stuff to very soft. And that is a way from what I've seen and heard online, that is a way to buy and these are relatively cheap Boar brushes compared to the Badger, to get a really soft, wonderful brush at a very low cost. It just costs you break-in time. If you're interested in trying a shortcut, there is a cold water method. You can probably type that in, Boar brush break-in cold water method. It's probably going to get you there. So this has been a little messy, but hey, you know. All right, I am surely I've got enough lather on there, enough soap loaded on the brush. Don't know if I like the fragrance or not. I think so. I think I'm, at least I'm able to identify the sandalwood. So we'll see. Messy bowl. All right. I usually don't do a pre-shave. Someday, when I run out of soaps to try, and when I run out of blades to try, and razors to try, maybe I'll do some kind of test to see if a pre-shave routine. I think I will try oil at some point. But right now, I'm testing my gear. I want to keep it standard, so I don't really usually do a pre-shave. All right, but we will do a little splash of water. All right, now that'll just start to get the whiskers wet while I whip up the lather. Now this is how it exists already, with just kind of the extras that were falling off of the bowl. And then we will take the brush that you saw a moment ago. I hope that I don't have too much water in here. We'll just see. already it's starting to look good. The water has already soaked up into my brush. The lather is still very light, kind of wet. I was reading a forum today, and it was talking about lather and how that sheen that is on, you know, when you hold it up and, oh, look, there's a sheen. That sheen on the lather is indicative of how much water is in the lather. And sometimes I've put some lather up on my face and it kind of feels good. It's very thick, you know, but I'll bet it hasn't been wet enough because it didn't have a sheen on it. It felt thick, but you can feel thick and be kind of dry. And I believe that what might have been what I was experiencing. This is starting to incorporate a little better. We have pretty much instantly tons of lather, but you can probably see there are lots of little bubbles. So how about we just keep going at it. I don't mind a long whipping session with my brush, especially at this stage, because it needs to be broken in. I mean, I'm sure you could shave with that lather if you wanted to, but let's go for something a little better if we can. So I learned through that forum post that the sheen comes from making sure you have enough water, and if you do whip it up and you don't have the sheen, yeah, that's a clue that even though it looks good, it's still a little too dry of a lather for you to use yet. So keep adding a little bit of water. Now, one of their points was add water until it's too wet, and then for next time you'll know not to add any more than that. But I change soaps so often that I don't think that would work very well for me. Trying to remember. Yeah, it's getting better. It's getting better. I mean, I've got tons in here. But take a look at it. It's got a little bit of a sheen to it there. We've got some peaks. Okay, smell. Well, the good thing is the sandalwood is there, so I'm happy about that. There's a little extra in there of something that maybe I don't like. But we'll give it a chance. You never know how things turn out. Man, there is so much lather in here. We'll see if I warm up to the fragrance. One that's kind of same thread about building a lather said that sometimes if you start with, let's say it's going to take you 2 tablespoons of water to make a lather, and you'll hit it just right. Well, there is a difference sometimes between starting with that amount of water right away versus adding it slowly. Sometimes there is a big difference, and it's better to start slow and not add it all at once, even if you know the exact amount you're going to use. So my hand is in there digging. Usually I have a long handle badger brush that kind of keeps my hand away from the business. If it wasn't for the octagonal handle on this brush, I would be slipping all over the place. So as you see, I'm not quite good at guessing how much lather how much I need to load my brush. I've clearly loaded it plenty, maybe 3 times more than I should. But the last time I tried this brush on a Harris soap, I erred on the other side. I think the brush just wasn't ready to absorb as much water and soap, and so I ended up having to kind of face lather the last half of the shave. Oh, this is, I'm so happy I didn't overwater this thing. Got a lather cave going on. I'm gonna go ahead and, okay, let's look for bubbles. Looks fairly consistent. There's some bubbles there. Do I have a sheen? You know, I don't. It's kind of a matte. It's kind of a matte finish. Should I add some more water? Well, let's do it. As I rinse that soap off my hands, I can feel the slickness. Very nice. Very nice. So, add a little bit more. Let's see if that will give us a sheen, indicating that the lather is well hydrated, because after all, according to the thread I was reading today, the real key to getting a good lubricated shave is having the water up next to your skin. Is it true? Might be. I'm a little too young in this to know, but I'm just trying out some opinions from different people. So I'm going to try to get a nice glistening lather that would then indicate it's well hydrated. I have so much. And it is changing. You know, you would almost think that, yeah, it's starting to, I think it's starting to get a little bit of a sheen. You would think that if I would have added water to what I had, that it would have thinned it a little bit. But it actually seems to have increased the soap, the lather content. And I've seen that in other, oh, look at that. I've seen that in other shaving videos where they say that it explodes. It's a word that some people use. Maybe I'll shave my head today. I've got so much lather. Okay, do I have a sheen? Ooh, it's starting to get there. I'm going to add another little bit of water. I don't know. We'll see. I tell you what, water, integrating water into your lather during the lather building process is so much better and easier than trying to bring soap into it. I'll tell you that. I don't even know if I could get all of the lather out of the bowl on one brush. And yeah, I mean, I think it's got a bit of a sheen. Let's keep on whipping it. When I was young, we used to go and peak demonstration. I don't know what peaks will tell you about the lather. Whether it's almost there, whether it's, hey, you've arrived, or I don't know what they will tell you, but there they are. Okay, it's glistening a little bit more, so let's hit it again, Ike. Gotta get a bigger bowl, maybe. Right deltoid is going to start becoming huge. The more shaving videos I do, and I make my own bowl leather. Oh yeah, the sheen. A well-hydrated soap. I definitely have had that happen where I have put down what I thought was a thick layer. Nice, comfortable, thick layer, insulative, preserving heat, things like that. Only to, as I shave it away, only to have it leave behind dry looking, not dry, but just non-wet kind of streaks or patches. And I was like, I thought I had a good lather. So that post I found today kind of made sense and resonated with me a little bit. And what I'm doing is just kind of 6 rotations, 10 rotations in one direction, and then switching and reversing. Just circular stirring motions. And we have got beaucoup de lather. Well, you know what? I'm just going to shave with that. I think I have enough. Finally. I may shave the back of my neck. Shoot. All right. That is impressive. Hey, I've got Pope fingers. All right. All right, a little splash on the water. I just have one day of growth. I am also a cold water shaver. I've mentioned this before on one of my videos, but you may not have seen that one. I saw a blog article years ago about cold water shaving and how the guy was exploring the idea that maybe we don't need to focus so much on having a hot sink full of water and trying desperately to keep our scuttle and our lather warm as we do our morning ritual. After all, decades of warriors in the different world wars, shaving in the field, sometimes using ice cold water because of the region they were in. So I shave cold because I like the convenience of not having to wait for the hot water to arrive. And I also remember those who have gone before me, shaving and preserving their routines amongst harsh environments. All right. I lost the brush in the lather. It's like they've taken a cologne that I don't really care for too much, and they've mixed it with sandalwood. Maybe it's a spice. Maybe it's one or two spices. Like I don't know what bergamot smells like. Vetiver. I think I've looked them up so that I would know at the time, but I don't remember now. So make sure the handle is tight. Oh, I had it loose to remind myself to show you that we are shaving with a Persona Platinum Chrome blade. Probably used about 3 times already, and the previous time was on the brother of this one, the short comb, and so I kept the same blade to make for a better comparison. So we'll see. And that was yesterday's shave, so maybe it'll be easier for me to remember. All right. Seems to be smoother right away than the short comb. Oh, that, I must have been hooking some goatee hairs right there. I could feel that. These have been regarded as very good razors historically, from well-built, from Gillette, well-built and shaving well, performing razors. New is usually listed as in all caps. It's a shame they named it something so generic that makes it hard to search for on eBay and whatnot, and for references and stuff. Just kind of a with the grain pass here. Trouble spot right around here. My hair gets all wonky, going different directions. I do feel the blade. It is by no means super smooth, but we'll see. All right, so that was a with the grain, and I was experimenting with different angles. All right, a little bit of rinse, and then pass number dos. Definitely recall this brush being more firm and scritchy, so I'm confident that the break-in process is well underway and it's getting better and better. Finally realized about 3 shaves ago that I could, that some mile marker had hit and it was able to hold more water and more lather. And so then I was able to really have it in my rotation. Like every other day, I'll do my badger, my normal badger that I usually, or my favorite one that is my go-to badger. Because I was basically using that one and then doing hand lathers, or one time I even got in the shower and just brushed this up and down my arm just to try to help it age it and stuff. All right, let's do this. Second pass, cross grain. It is, cross grain. It's definitely picking up some hairs, but it is a much lighter, smoother shave the second pass. It could be that this razor requires like maybe a 45-degree angle instead of a 30. Let's try my neck at more like the 45. Cross grain. Need to remember to do a light touch. I keep forgetting that. I'm just trying to follow the contours of my face and I'm putting too much pressure. In most of the areas of my face, it's not really a problem. But for this area right here, that's where I get razor burn. If I ever get it, that's where I get it. And this is where I'm touching up constantly after the third pass. If I don't have a super sharp blade and razor combination. Yeah, I'm gonna do well, we still got a third pass to go. Right now it does seem to be more smooth, more comfortable than the short comb version. And yet it's doing a job cutting. You can feel it cutting. Maybe that's why it was so popular, because it was effective. It was riding that line between effective and irritating. Rinse off here. And now the third pass lather. Am I smelling this as I'm using it? Yeah. Haven't decided if I'll like it or not. But at least I do smell some sandalwood, so that's better than a lot of the other sandalwood. It's like a barber shop that they're making, and they call it sandalwood, but florals and soapy are the main focus. I don't want florals and soapy. I want to smell like a sandalwood tree. As you can see, tons of soap still in the brush, even after I kind of wipe off what I also scooped in from the bowl. And you probably noticed, I don't believe I left behind any kind of dry looking areas. So that's good. Maybe this one was a well hydrated lather. Sure, feels like it's doing its job so far. Third pass. Against the grain, generally in the other direction. We'll see. For some people, this might be an against the grain shave pass direction. But for my hairs right there, that is a cross grain. Speaking in terms of right here, when I was moving diagonally. Adam's apple is sometimes another spot that can get raw, and actually it's that little patch right above the Adam's apple. I guess because maybe it's in a little bit of a slight recess. Makes it hard to get those hairs. So now this is a great time to, in my opinion, to try to find that sweet spot angle with the razor. Because when your hairs are long, this just hit me. When your hairs are long, any angle is gonna hit it. The blade's gonna touch a hair when they're long, but when you go over an area for the third pass, especially in an area where you usually shave well, like my cheeks, it's they've already been cut pretty close, and so whatever angle you can go to actually get some cutting, that it might just be your hint as to your most effective angle. Cross grain right here. Okay. See, I'm getting no cutting right there. There we go. Change my angle a little bit. I am not an authority on shaving yet. Got a long way to go. But what I do is I share my experience. So I have done a rinse after that third pass. The long comb does seem to be a smoother, more comfortable shave with less irritation for people with skin types like me. A hardier skin type may not notice the difference at all. I am going to risk a little bit of irritation and try to hit my little trouble spot one more time with a touch up. Really like the D.R. Harris mahogany. This one, maybe I'll trade this one with somebody. Which is too bad. I was really hoping to find another good Sandalwood. All right. Risking a little bit of irritation. And there we go. Most of the time, I think most of my razors are fairly mild. Most of the time, the razor burn that I get is just something that's temporary almost. It bothers you right after the shave, and like when you may splash water on it, or especially like alcohol or something. But then with the application of witch hazel and or an aftershave balm, it is cleared up fairly quickly and doesn't really bother me anymore. I may still have some red places, but they don't really bother me anymore. Now, I don't know if that's typical for most people and how they deal with razor burn. I don't know if people just get a lot more reactive, and those guys that just go for those baby butt smooth shaves and then they pay for it the next day, or maybe they can't do it the next day, you know. Since I don't do against the grain, I can pretty much shave every day. with no problem at all. I have kept a record of which razors and blades have given me virtually no irritation, and there's a good many. So I could do that every day if I wanted, and I like that. And so let's take a look at what I was able to do. Oh, that's nice. Yeah, I mean, it's not baby butt, but it is. It's DFS in my book. All right. I don't feel too much irritation right now. I usually don't do the litmus test alum block after this thing. I usually reserve that for bleeders. But what I do is witch hazel and hold my breath. Don't breathe in the cloud. Agitates my lungs a little bit. There we go. A little bit of stinging when I did that down here, just a little tiny bit. One of those things where if in 2 minutes it'll be gone usually. If it was worse, I would sometimes do the balm after the witch hazel. So there we go. I think that's as far as I'm going to go tonight. So very happy. Generally a very comfortable shave. It's also nice to know, because most of my modern razors are on the mild side, and it's nice to know that I have a couple in my stable that can really go after it and maybe risk a little bit of irritation to get a pretty close shave. And this is a 4th use Persona, and so it's probably time to chuck this guy in terms of getting the extra special shaves out of him. So I bet if it was a first time use Persona in this razor, that'll be the next thing to check out. I bet I wouldn't have even had to do that touch up. But on my cheeks, it felt great all the time. It was, there are razors that are so mild you don't really feel them. And to some people, maybe that takes away a little bit from the experience. Because you want to know that you're shaving rather than using Nair to take your beard off, And so in that sense, the open combs from Gillette of the 1930s will really be good for that blade feel while keeping you fairly safe. And I do not believe I cut myself at all with a short comb. It just gave me a little bit more irritation in the neck area. Don't believe I had any in the cheek area. So that's a little bit about the this razor. Let me disassemble. Did I tell you already that the handle is copper? The maybe is this a bolster? This part that comes to the head that has the threading is brass. The base plate is brass. This one's in great condition. My other one, my short comb, is very difficult to actually read some of the writing in there because it's not, this is almost a mirrored finish. The other one's not. So I think this is the last time for the Persona blade. I really like those blades a lot. So give you a little bit more of a tour of this beauty antique. So here's the top plate of the head, and then it has 4 in each corner. Those help to keep the blade in place, as well as this ridge that goes right down the center line that the blade goes on. Beautiful copper. Since that's copper and this is brass, I need to be careful not to over tighten it. Now for the base plate, you can see the trough that the ridge sits in. See those open comb teeth turn it right side up in case you happen to be interested and able to read those patent numbers. I think it was in 1930 that they actually started making some of these, but I was able to cut a couple of years off of the date evaluation by looking at the latest patent and seeing that it was published in 32. Now, it was filed a couple of years before. I don't know whether they can actually start using that patent before it's published, you know, but for now I'm just saying that 32 is this potential start date of the range of this. So this piece is brass. You know, it should just last forever. They don't make razors like this anymore that are at a reasonable price point. So it held, you probably heard, that's what happens when you drop these two pieces. And sometimes if you've got one of the newer razors that's just made out of pot metal, that's called a break. But these look great. And I don't remember what I was saying before the trauma. So just screw that little guy back in, and he's ready to go next time. I don't believe there's anything else that I have for you that would be beneficial for you to see. So we'll just sign off. That little irritation that I mentioned a minute ago, it's gone. Probably won't feel it again. Good shave. A little piece of history. Holy cow, an 80-year-old razor. Doing great. Tremendous. This even came in a little metal box because that's how it was sold, and they preserved that along with the razor. It's a little moldy. I might have to figure out how to clean that because I don't want my razor to be laying around in mold and mildew. So, all right. If I did have to do some balm, I usually hit myself up with this Nivea. So that's to show you about that. The alum block that I have on hand in case of a cut is that one. I don't get any kind of kickbacks from any products, so I can mention whatever one I want. Whatever. And I'm not even telling you what my favorites are, at least unless I specifically say that. Those are just ones that look decent on Amazon or, you know, whatever. The Nivea actually did a lot of research and was highly recommended because it is at a low cost, but apparently the ingredients are really good for your skin, and they're not, I don't know, I think there's some bad things that happen in balms that it might be good to stay away from, and the Nivea people figured that out. And so it's effective, safe, and a good value. So that one had a lot of upvotes behind the research on it. So I picked that one up in good faith and have been very happy with it. I started trying the witch hazel several months after I used the balm, the Nivea, and I almost didn't want to give up the Nivea because it really does make my face feel good afterwards. But I'm trying out just the witch hazel, and it works as well. It works well too. Not as luxurious as the Nivea, but it works well. That's enough for now. Take care. Why do I always have a footnote? I wanted to mention that I use tap water, hard water, for that shave. So that is to tell you that it confirms that DR Harris does work well and generate a wonderful lather. I've got more left in my bowl than I actually used on my face, I think. Generates a good lather from simple tap water. So there you go. Hey, I wanted to add a little caveat, a little correction. In the previous video, I kept referring to the mahogany fragrance from DR Harris, and I meant to say the Marlboro fragrance. They, in their description, they put in a mahogany style bowl, and that was what was in my brain. So anytime I said mahogany, what I meant was Marlboro, and I really like the Marlboro scent. All right, thank you.